Hi everyone, welcome to Resolve with Bukumi. So today we're going to be talking about the currency crisis in Nigeria. So since oil prices are falling by about half price, the central bank has been struggling to provide forex, and this has led to high exchange rates in Nigeria. So I have with me Chinonye and I, and we're going to be having a discussion together. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Chinonye and I. I'm a final year law student and I'm just here to, give my own legal perspective on the issue.
Okay. Welcome, Naya. The first question I have for you is, why has the fall in oil prices affected Naira so much?
I think the problem is that over the years and for a while now we've shifted our focus from other sources of income and we focused on this gold that we call oil, and as a result of that, now that the prices of oil all over the country, all over the world rather, is falling, that's had a very negative impact on our country. Prior to oil, I think about 70% of our income came from agriculture, but when we discovered this oil, then we just left everything else. So things like tourism, other industries have been left to thrive on their own, and now we found ourselves in this very deep problematic issue.
Yes, definitely. What you said about 90% of our foreign income coming from oil, and now that we don't have that income coming in again, the central bank has a limited stock of foreign currencies, and there's a limit to how much they can give out to the citizens and also to businesses that are demanding this, and at the same time also maintaining the reserves that they need to have in place. Okay, so apart from that, what are the impacts that this has had on Nigerians and both like individuals and businesses? What are the impacts?
I think we're in terms of businesses and just Nigerians as a whole, this is the first time that a problem has actually affected not just the poor people, but the middle class, the high class. This is a problem that is affecting every single person in Nigeria, and even Nigerians in diaspora, even Nigerians all over the world, and even in foreign people that have invested in Nigeria or have businesses in Nigeria linked to Nigeria, because it's an issue where, for example, now there's a limit on how much on the supply of foreign exchange, and that's affecting businesses. For us students, as like, let me use ourselves as an example, there's a limit on what we can do with our Nigerian cards. There's a limit on how much money we can get from home, because I remember in the first year when we first came here, we could pay our fees with our cards, but now there's a limit of about $300 a day on that. Even sometimes you don't get up to the $300 or some days you are lucky enough to get more than that. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and with the whole issue with our reserve, we went from having about 43 billion in 2014 to having about 20 billion in 2015. So this situation has just exposed all the problems that we already have, problems of corruption and everything in Nigeria. And because of the limits and the bans that have been imposed on banks, then have businesses that rely on loans from these banks. They're restricted, they're not able to carry out their businesses as adequately as they need to. And then with the impositions and bans of certain items, people's businesses are already failing because it's people that are importing this thing to make a living. So it's a situation that is affecting everybody in Nigeria. And just to compound the problem is the fact that the government isn't really giving us any information. We don't have any strategies being spoken about. There's no communication on this issue that is affecting everybody. There's no communication of what is the way forward, what are we doing next.
Yes, definitely agree with what you said. And another thing, just like businesses, so if you're transacting, if you have businesses abroad, and you also can pay your suppliers and all of that, and then, or if you also have staff working for you abroad, and you're sending them their salary from Nigeria, how are they going to receive it? And it's just really just presently it's just creating like a bad image for businesses from
even
Nigerian
people that
businesses.
are just on holiday. How do you pay for your hotels? Because I read somewhere that even airlines are finding it difficult to cash in on the money that they got paid here in Nigeria. So it's a very problematic situation.
You have people that are stranded in hotels, they can't pay their bills. Yeah, and then the other question I have for you is, it's the central bank rate, is it more important than the parallel market rate? So they have two different exchange rates.
I think the problem with is the issue that the central, usually in many countries, what happens, correct me if I'm wrong because you're in economics, what happens in many countries is that the rates are determined by the forces of supply and demand in the market. But what we have in our country now is that the central bank, the government has set rates on it. So I think about dollar was about 197 or so.
Yeah.
So it means that it doesn't get higher than that, it doesn't get lower than that. But at the same time, we have parallel markets such as the black markets that we all know about. So these parallel markets, they set their own rates. They set it based on unofficial information of supply and demand in the market. They get this from unofficial sources. So that's highly problematic because the rates are so inconsistent. Today you have this rate that is so high. Tomorrow you have another rate. The next day you have another rate. And I think at its highest, it's been 33% higher than the central bank rates. And so it's just this problem where we have two different rates. We just have dispersed rates, and the central bank is not able to fulfill the demand for foreign exchange. I read somewhere in the last couple of months they've only been able to fill a tenth on the order of pounds and dollars. So people now have to run to this parallel market, and these parallel markets, where are they getting their judgments from? How exactly are they setting it? Is the government that is equipped to make use of these forces of supply and demand? So now there's a problem because, for example, we students, we would want to get the central bank rate, so we have a reduced fee. But the central bank needs a lot of requirements. For example, we can get central bank rates on our school fees. When it comes to living expenses, you can't. So you now have to run to the parallel markets.
Yes. That's very true. Yeah. So you've touched briefly about about the bans that they place on certain goods.
Yeah.
So there's a ban on pencil and toothpick. What impacts is it going to have on Naira and the economy in general?
I think I take a very radicalist approach when it comes to the impositions and the bans, because I know lots of people have complained that that's not the solution. You just don't say we need to stop this, because that's a source of income for certain individuals. But I believe that at this situation, we have to start taking drastic measures. It takes such a long time to build an economy, and we need to start now. If not, our country is going to be in ruins. Why should, in the 21st century, why should such a country as Nigeria that has a lot of timber, a lot of wood, why should we not be producing pencils? Why should we be importing toothpick? Why should we be taking cocoa out of our country, taking cocoa to other countries that do not produce cocoa, then they turn it into beverages and they bring it back to us and we sell it at those prices? Is absolutely ridiculous. So I feel like this imposition of bans is going to stir up entrepreneurial minds, stir up businesses. People are going to, how do we make use of this situation? How do we make use of this problem to actually sell Nigeria? So and then like I was speaking to you earlier, talking about how it says that by 2017 or 2018, West Africa is going to have one of the biggest pencil manufacturing companies. It might sound little like pencils, but a lot of countries have built their economy from little things, from tourism, just very little things. So why can't we build our economy from the God-given resources that we have and not just focus on one? There's a reason we're so blessed. We can be so great. We have so many things. We have just not the resources, but we also have people that are very industrious.
Yes. So obviously, like the multiplier effect of also having the pencil, the manufacturing company in Nigeria is going to be immense. So it's going to create employment, and which is one of a very big problem in Nigeria. So there's high rate of youth unemployment. So that is definitely going to cut some of the gaps a bit, and then it's also going to also ensure that the profit that's made remains in the country. Yes, definitely. And hopefully, I think now we're hoping that it's not a multinational company that comes to Nigeria to produce pencil, and it's actually a Nigerian that's making the investment, so the profit doesn't go.
But the issue with that is now, what is the government going to do? What are we going to do for ourselves to encourage ourselves so that foreigners don't come and make use of opportunity on our own land? What are we actually going to do? It's the fact that many people want to do this, but lack of resources, and like I said, the issue with getting loans now, things like collateral and all of that. What does the average person really have to drop as collateral for a business? So it's now, what schemes does the government have in place to empower youth? We have, for example, we say that the Aba boys or the Igbos, let me use that example, with the Aba boys, that they don't know, they make imitations, they make fake products. But you've seen that these people are very creative, they're very, they're very industrial minded. So what do you now do to tell them stop trying to imitate other things. Let's do Nigeria, do your own. What resources are you putting in place? We can learn lessons from places like Calabar. They've been very, very, they're very tourist-like. They really developed their states in such a way that people can come in and use that point as a destination, tourist destination. So we need to learn from each other rather than fighting over oil and prices and all of that. Why don't we come together as a nation and learn from each other and use this to empower ourselves? Training, set up training. I'm so proud of there's now a car company in Nigeria.
Yes.
Manufacturing our own cars for the first time, which is amazing. So what things are we doing to help people that actually want to help ourselves?
Definitely. I do believe that part of the government budget is that they're spending a lot of money on cars, official cars for the politicians, and if they invest in the cars that are made in Nigeria instead of buying other cars from abroad, that's definitely going to increase employment and also increase income for these people that run the businesses. So definitely, made in Nigeria products are it's gradual. It's not going to be immediate, but it's a long term policy that is going to benefit Nigeria immensely. So this is my next question is, okay, so what should Nigeria do, and what should Nigerians do? Like, what is the next step for Nigerians?
I think the next step in terms of short-termism and what to do about this whole currency situation, I do not have an answer, because I myself, I'm still trying to unravel the issue and still understand it better. But in terms of long term, there's a lot we can do. We need to stop being myopic. We need to stop thinking about how can we fill our pockets now, or how can we, save enough for our own generation. But we need to start thinking that even when you leave this earth, there are people after you, your neighbor. We need to come together as a country, regardless of your tribe, regardless of wherever you're from or your beliefs. We all want a greater Nigeria. Greater Nigeria will benefit all of us. We need to start thinking long term. What can I do to sell Nigeria? I myself, as a student that's not that, as a student in another country, and all of us that are in diaspora, what are we thinking? Are we left Nigeria to come and sit here and try and develop another man's land? Meanwhile, our own soil is on fire. What are you doing? What's your plan for your country? Are you going back home after? What ideas do you have? It needs to start from, they say charity begins at home. It needs to start. We can't just rely on the government all the time. Okay, we've established the fact that the government isn't doing what they ought to do, but as the average person, are you doing what you're meant to do? Are you creating awareness about the problems? Are you creating awareness about you problems? Are you looking for solutions for them, not just complaining, but also putting forth solutions? How are we going to empower the youth to be industrious? Because as long as there's hope, there's life. How do we empower the youth to keep on having hope? And on the part of the governments, what are they need to encourage us? They need to, we're not just, it's democracy for a reason. You need to keep us informed on your steps. What are you doing? What are your plans for us? What are your plans to rectify the situation? I mean, to stop focusing on oil. I hope this situation now, the fact that there's actually no money in oil anymore, is actually going to force us. So it's a situation where we actually don't have a choice but to come out and rise out of the situation. We start thinking long term. We need to start selling Nigeria. I think that's it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Then, one of the things you also touched on was tourism, agriculture, and that. So even if we also diversify and produce all these other resources that we have in Nigeria and make good use of them, it's definitely going to benefit, because then we're going to have diverse industries and not just depending on the oil industry. And by the time we develop all these other industries, one of the main things I was going to say is creating employment and income, which is one of the major challenges in Nigeria. So definitely going to reduce the poverty gap.
Education as well, because some people have ideas, but there's traps inside of them because they don't have education.
Yes, and then by the time these jobs are created, then you have income, and then the families they're not just depending on from food and accommodation. Now they can also invest, save extra and spend on education. So there's definitely there'll be a multiplier effect from building industries.
It's all easier said than done. It involves a lot of planning. It involves a lot of sitting down. And we should be hearing of certain committees that are looking into situations like this. Even though those committee area now is another problem of are they just being set up to spend more money? But there's a country now that made a youth one of the ministers. We should have because majority of the population is youth, and if you don't keep us informed, it's going to kill us. If you don't feed us, we're going to die. So you need to engage us in politics, engage us in the laws that you're making. There needs to be engagement.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for us from us today. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So please leave your comments. What do you think? What are your own solutions? And what do you think of the present short-term solutions and long-term solutions? And yeah, thank you very much, guys, and see you next week. Bye.